Welcome to the Nonprofit Spotlight. So glad you're here again with us today. I'm here with Maralee Gutierrez from Comunidad, a nonprofit here in the Falls Church area. Maralee, so glad you're with us. Can you please take a moment, introduce yourself, and tell us a little bit about Comunidad and what you all are up to?
Yes, thank you, Mike. It's so good to be with you all today, and thanks for the invitation, and hello to everybody that's listening out there in the cyber world and podcast world. It's great to be able to join you all and share about comunidad. Comunidad is a Spanish word that means community in English, and we are a community development organization walking alongside communities in the Falls Church area. And so our mission is to equip and engage locally rooted community leaders. And what that looks like is just honoring and inviting neighbors in our communities to be a part of doing good together.
Great. So whereabouts are you at work in our community? Where are some of the neighborhoods that you
Yes.
are
Okay.
integrated
So
into?
we are currently our main office is in the Williston community of Seven Corners, right off of 50. If everybody knows where that Home Depot is, and so right across the street from the Home Depot. And then our second location is very close to Holy Trinity Lutheran, off of Kings. It's in the Kingsley Commons community, off of 50 and Graham. So we are growing along the 50 corridor, it seems like.
That's great. That's great. And then you also have a presence in the community center too, as well, right?
Yes. So we're at the Williston Multicultural Center in Seven Corners, and this is a center that is run by Fairfax County. However, because we're able to provide support for the immediate community, we're able to have some space here where we deliver our programming. We have a Strong Readers, Strong Leaders program for elementary age students. We have a teen program we have a weekly mentoring program for our teens, and we also have a summer soccer clinic, a summer coding boot camp, and we're looking forward to our summer internship program for students as well.
Wonderful. That's great.
Hmm.
I wanted to highlight the values that you have as an organization. And I know I'm not going to remember them all, so I want to make sure I read them so that everybody hears them exactly. That your values include love, honor, respect, honesty, integrity, humility, and collaborative creativity. Those are
Hmm.
fantastic and so nuanced. And I just want to know, like, tell me a little bit about how you maybe came up with those values or how you implement them into the work that you do.
Yeah, that's a great question. So all of our values are rooted in love. It's the expression of our love and affection that seed our values. And these values are our greatest hopes and dreams for our friends, for our families, our neighbors, and for ourselves, right? And when we see these values in love, right, and we live by the following values, we're strengthening the fabric of comunidad and making the world a better place, which is what we're striving to do. So one of our values, human dignity, it's just knowing and understanding that we're all worthy of honor and respect. The human race is like any other living race on earth, and we're tethered in our human likeness. Our capacity to flourish and thrive is heightened when we honor and respect our inherent dignity, right? Integrity, it's important. Honesty and truth needs to be at the heart of everything in relationships and work and thoughts, intentions, and our commitments. Integrity is a character value that demands our work, and our capacity to walk with integrity defines our character and it defines our commitments. And so then there's three other values that we look to achieve and that we try and live by and adhere to. And the last three are servant leadership. At Comunidad, we lead with humility and we call others into this type of sacrificial leadership. We believe the most transformative leaders are those that are willing to serve alongside their community in a servant leadership role. We believe very much in co-design, and Comunidad really prizes what is collaborative creativity, what is when everyone has the ability to demonstrate, to develop, and hone their talents and abilities and skills. We believe it really strengthens our connectivity. It strengthens our confidence and it strengthens our capacity to do more. The last value is we are a communal people. Um, none of us are self-made, and so to be in community, to be a communal people, it requires proximity. And so our work is a communal work. We believe we are better together. And as an organization, Comunidad is very much place-based. We are locally rooted, we are locally inspired, and we require gathering in community to fortify our communal fabric. And what does this look like for us? Well, it looks like a variety of things. I always like to share the story of Comunidad Start. Um, I was looking at four different places across the county to start the organization, and I decided to start here because I got an invitation from the director of the center at that time. Please come here and support our families and our community. And I said, well, point me to leaders in the community that I can lock arms with. And she did. She pointed me to 7 parents in the community that wanted to do something to make their community better. And those 7 leaders canvassed the community. We had our first community gathering. And the question I asked to the community was, what are your hopes and dreams for the community? What do you want to see differently? And community members started saying, Miss Maralee, we want to see grass on the soccer field. We want academic enrichment programs for our students. We want to be able to have our kids play sports. And the more and more I listened and I built relationships with families, that communal, right, gathering, the more I understood that not only did the community have the resources and capacity to be a part of making a difference, but they also had a hunger to be able to have a platform in which to do so and the resources in which to do so. So we created what was our first leadership class. And our first leadership class initially was for parents. And the parents, we started with about 15 parents, and from 15 to 10 to 7 to 3, there were 3 moms that showed up every week. And I told them, I'm here because you're here. And these moms brought their children, and so we enveloped them into the leadership class. And from a parent leadership class, it became a multi-generational leadership class. And I told these 3 women, I'm here because you're here. The day you stop coming is the day I stop coming. And to this day, those 3 women have never stopped coming.
Wow.
And so we've grown to have a Strong Readers, Strong Leaders program, which is a diagnostic prescriptive reading program that is technology-free, community-based, and diagnostic prescriptive in nature means it has a pre and a post-assessment. There's no other program like it across the county, as far as I know. But if any listener think there is, please call me and let us know. And what I mean by that is that it's run by a nonprofit that is in the community that has the need and the desire, and that it is technology-free, and it is having a measurable impact. We've also, thanks to our community, have a food distribution every 3rd Saturday of the month where we provide food for around 250 families. And that is thanks to our community members. You know, we started during COVID, and we decided we were going to close down the food distribution after about 6 months into COVID. And one of our moms said, Miss Maralee, we need to provide food for our families. People are still without jobs. And this woman took it on. She said, if you point me to 2 leaders in the community, or 2 other people that I can have a leadership team with, we will go ahead and every month do this food distribution. And so our food distribution has been going strong for 5 years because of our local community leaders. And like that, I can tell you story upon story of things that the community has done to make it better. But these are all centered on these values that they're not exclusive to Comunidad. You know, there's you, Mike, we're inherently born, and we share our human likeness. We all are worthy individuals and human beings. And when we forget that, we strip each other of these values, and we tear each other apart, and we treat each other in ways that are just unkind. And so these are what I like to call our North Stars, or our compass, to be able to align us and say, okay, wait, am I doing co-design? Am I in community? Am I walking in integrity? Am I honoring the dignity in my fellow brother or sister?
Yeah, that's great. So, how do you go about measuring success? Is it by numbers, or is it by like a level of relationship or connection? How does that work?
Yeah, good question. Very good question. There's a number of different ways that we measure success. We measure success, very practically and quantitatively. Mm, we have an elementary we have an elementary reading program where we have a pre-test and a post-test. And this last year, we saw a 94% improvement in reading skills for our students and a
Hmm.
93% improvement in vocabulary spelling for our students. So that's a very quantifiable, right, metric.
Yeah, that's great.
But I also consider it a success when my fifth grade boy comes to me. Alexis, one of our fifth grade boys, approaches me and says, Miss Maralee, what's the name of our Strong Readers program again? And I'm like, it's Strong Readers, Strong Leaders. He's like, okay, Strong Readers, Strong Leaders. And I said, why? Why are you asking? He's like, because I'm applying to go to be part of Abbott in sixth grade, and I want them to know that I was part of Strong Readers, Strong Leaders.
Oh,
That
nice.
for me is a success. When another young boy who's in third or fourth grade says to one of his reading coaches, um, my teacher's giving me harder books to read because I'm doing so well in reading. You know, when a child says to me, I know Comunidad cares, I know people at Comunidad care for me. And when I asked this fifth grade child, well, how do you know that people care for you? She responds to me, because they make eye contact with me. So there's these qualitative stories that I can tell you, countless of them, of how we're being successful in our reading program. Another measure of success is right before jumping onto this call, a young man who is a bright young star walks in. He's in eighth grade and he said, Miss Maralee, I don't know what to do for high school. I want to go to an Ivy school. Can you advise me on what's the best choice for me
Hmm.
for high school? Where
Yeah.
do you think I should go? And how do I set myself up to be able to get ready to go to a top tier school across the country? I've known that boy since fourth grade. Another success is, and I can tell you countless stories, I'll tell you at least two more, um, is when a dad calls me and tells me, Miss Maralee, we raise money to get grass on the soccer field, a soccer field that hasn't had grass for nearly 20 years. And I let him know, hey, this isn't my soccer field. I don't own the soccer field. But thanks to the families and to the community, they mobilize and galvanize. And in summer of 2021, for the first time in nearly 20 years, there's grass growing. There's lush grass growing on a soccer field that didn't have it. And it's thanks to the community advocating and galvanizing and uniting to be able to make a difference. So there are some very clear metrics. Like our reading program is the clearest way. To me, success is when you finish your food distribution on the third Saturday of the month and you know that you've distributed food to over 250 families, and there is an elderly woman that approaches you and said, you're number one. And I'm like, what are you talking about? We're number one. She said, you are the kindest there. This is the kindest food distribution. And I'm not throwing shade to anybody out there, but I'm just
No.
saying, like, when people feel loved and cared for, and it's reflected in their responses to how you treat them. I
Yeah.
think that's it's invaluable.
That's wonderful. Nice. So, do you, in addition to the community center, are there other organizations or business partners or anybody else that you partner with to help execute the programs that you offer?
Yeah, we rely heavily on our community, Mike, and that's a great question. Comunidad exists because there's a force of over 400 volunteers that show up for us every year. We have about anywhere from 30 to 40 volunteers with us on a weekly basis that show up to our Monday teen programming, that show up for our elementary, our Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday reading program, that show up for our food distribution. We have about 50 plus volunteers that show up. And so we thank our community of faith. We thank our business. We have a handful of business partners that partner with us. We also have, I would just want to shout out to all those incredible people that share about Comunidad on their listserv. There is power in the listserv still.
Yeah.
Those are alive and thriving. Um, and we have hundreds of donors that continue to support us too. We have about seven partners that are either business partners or church partners. We also have a multitude of high schoolers. A big shout out to the high schoolers that show up for Comunidad in really big ways. So,
That's great. And so,
yeah.
like, assuming that maybe there are some listeners that are unfamiliar with Comunidad and would like to be involved and potentially volunteer, what could they do, or what are some of the opportunities that you might be able to provide for them?
Yeah, well, if you'd like to get involved and make a difference in your community, first I want to invite you to consider something local, something that's very close to you. Like, maybe there's a nonprofit in your area. However, if there isn't, and we're a 5 to 10 minute drive from you, I'd like to invite you to become a part of the work that we're doing. And you could do that in a multitude of ways, right? You can decide that you want to get involved by volunteering once a year. So you can come to one of our food distributions. It's every third Saturday of the month. And so you just go to our website, comunidadva.org, and you can sign up to become involved there. But maybe you think you have a little bit more time, or you're about to retire, or you're a high schooler that needs volunteer hours. You can volunteer with us at our reading program. You have to be 15 years or older every week. You can decide to volunteer every other week, or you can decide to volunteer twice a week. Tuesday, Wednesdays, or Thursdays from 4:45 to 6 p.m. is our reading program. Uh, if you are 18 years or older, perhaps you want to support our teen mentoring program every Monday. That's another great opportunity. If you're like, none of these options are really good for me, you perhaps would consider or have an interest in serving on our board. I'd love to chat with you, or on a future finance committee, or on a development committee. We have opportunities for you. But if volunteering isn't your thing, that's okay. You can also donate and contribute to our work financially, be it a 1 year contribution or on a monthly basis. So we'd like to invite you to consider any of those options.
Great. And I just want to go back to the food distribution that you mentioned earlier. Is that from food that you collect, or is that through like a government grant or a partnership that you get the food donated to the organization and then you distribute it? How exactly does that work?
Well, first of all, what I want to share with you all is that I'm really grateful to our generous donors and our friends and family that support our work. We're 100% privately funded, so we don't rely on any government funding. We are we partner with Capital Area Food Bank, and thanks to their generosity, we're able to provide food, and the food arrives just in time, which means it's fresh produce and a protein, and it gets delivered to us on a Saturday early morning, and we start preparing it to distribute it to the many families immediately. So,
If we had a volunteer that was interested, is there a form they fill out on your website, or how do they
yeah.
contact you all directly? How would that go about happening?
Yes, if anyone wants to volunteer with us, the best thing to do is to go to our website, which is comunidadva.org. So let me spell that out: COMUNIDAD, Comunidad, and then VA, like Virginia.org. And they fill out a volunteer interest form, and we'll reach out to them and follow up. And if they're interested in being part of the food distribution once a month, that's fine. They can just let us know what their interest is. And it's really easy to we try it's really easy to join our volunteers and be a part of the work that we're doing.
Wonderful. So now, as you think about the programs that you're already doing and the two different elements of our neighborhood that you're already engaged in, what are you thinking about towards the future? Is there different programs or new programs you're looking to start, or is there even new neighborhoods that you hope to be involved in and help develop a stronger network within?
Yeah. Well, what I would say is that we recently started our second location. And so this gives me a great opportunity to talk to you about our Kingsley Learning Center. And it's off of Graham and 50. And we are looking in this season to really grow and strengthen our adult programming at the center. We started with a computer literacy class, and in the very near future, like next month, we're going to kick off our English language learning classes late March. And so that is something where we want to invite people to be a part of. That's very close to Holy Trinity Lutheran, and I'm sure some of your church members. We are also hoping to strengthen and grow our current programming at the Wilston Multicultural Center. At present, we're not looking to grow beyond our two locations. Yes, it's kind of dreamy and interesting to be able to think about replicating our model, and that once upon a time was something that I thought of quite often. In the last year, I've decided in the last several months, I decided I think it would be really good, and just given some of the challenges and some of the opportunities that have been presented to us, to really just go deeper at our current two locations and to be able to offer more of our programs at both locations. So that is my hope in the future, to be able to mirror what we offer at both centers. Uh, yeah. And for now, I think it's we're seeing how we're having such an incredible impact in both communities, and how our offerings are very much needed and responsive to the community's needs and hopes. And so I think for us, this is where we're going to live for a bit.
I'm glad that you mentioned challenges because every organization has challenges, but I was wondering if there's any specific challenges that you see that are unique to our area or unique to our region that are on your horizon.
Yeah. Thanks, Mike, for that question. I think we could sit there for several hours, and I'll respond to your question specifically because you said unique to our organization. So you all know the nonprofit. Most of you know what a nonprofit challenge is, right? Some of the challenges that you face as a community of faith, as a pastor at a church, like we share similar challenges in that respect. I think some challenges that I find to be a little bit unique to our organization and to our population at times have to do with in three different areas, right? Uh, I think one of the first challenges I'd like to talk about is building confidence. I think that sometimes when there's communities that have limited resources, or they have not had access to information or to knowledge that helps them, or there's some disparities, or fill in the blank vulnerabilities, then individuals lack confidence. And so it's really trying to work to build the confidence of community members to say, you can do this, you can do this, you can do this. And I think that is something that requires time, patience, and a lot of love, is to be able to say, I believe in you. I believe you got this. And so from our first graders, helping them sit and concentrate and learn how to read, to our teens, having tough conversations with teens about life and home life and school life, and telling them, I know that you can do this. I know that you can do better, to talking to parents and building confidence, encouraging moms, encouraging dads, and saying, I know that you could do this. I believe that you can do this. And so I think what we build here is a lot of, we build believe muscles. So that's the one thing, is building confidence. The other thing I would say is how to be a unifying voice,
Hmm.
especially in these times. How do I demonstrate and show up in kindness and in love? And how do I quiet the noise and just focus on what's in front of me, and continue to live out my values that are rooted in love? And so, I work with one of our kids, or I've worked in the past with one of our students, uh, who he needs a quiet room to be able to focus and concentrate. And to be honest, I think that sometimes we all just need to sit in a quiet room to be able to focus and
Yeah.
concentrate on
Yeah.
doing the right thing and the thing that is good. I can appreciate one of our students, who volunteers with us, who recently responded to an e-news that I sent out. It talks about the evidence of love and how you know you're loved. And he said to me, I really liked your piece on love. And this young man is a senior, and I really love and respect him and appreciate him. And he said, I specifically liked how you said the visible product of love being in our commitments, our care for others. But he specifically said it's that he liked the part that I wrote, stating love is also evident in the internal capacity one has to not reciprocate another person's hate, anger, or disrespect. And I think there is wholeness and well being one can see in individuals who know they are loved. They are upstanding people of deep character. And so, like a magnet, we're drawn to these people. And so, I think one of our challenges and one of our great opportunities in this season is to be a unifying voice. The last one that is very closely tethered to that first one is how to speak the truth in love, how to tell someone the truth, in love and kindness. So again, I just told you about a high schooler, a middle schooler, an eighth grader that came into my office and said, Miss Maralee, what decision should I make about high school? Well, I told him in love what I think he should do. I said, if you were my son, this is what I would recommend. And with his mother sitting next to him, I kindly and firmly reminded them that I had asked them to come to me last year to have this conversation. And that's a very simple, but it's just like, listen, man, we missed the boat because he has an incredible opportunity to go to a private school that would be fantastic for him. But we're a little behind the eight ball, so we're going to give it our best shot.
Yeah.
Uh, anyway, so, how do I do that? How do I show up well? How do I not show up? How do I show up in my best self? And of course, we can go down the list of things that we need to do to be able to do that, from sleep hygiene to good food to good community to all those things. But for me, and I think for you, it really is following the words of our Lord Jesus Christ, and being saturated and being able to let the word of God permeate every part of my being and my soul, my heart.
That's great. Yeah. So on this nonprofit spotlight, we talk about and talk with a bunch of folks and amazing leaders who are solving real issues in terms of, and which you are too, in terms of like helping feed people that need food. But what's great about Comunidad is your focus on the individual and helping strengthen the individual's soul, if you will, or character, or just even sense of self, which is so unique to what you do. And so that's really fantastic work. Is there anything else that comes to mind for you that you wanted to share or thought that it'd be good for the audience to hear?
Yeah, no, I think it's when we honor our neighbors, we empower communities. When I honor, and I invite you to become an active contributor to this good work. Um, it's seeing and honoring the dignity, the imago Dei, right, in each of us, and knowing that we all, like, we're better together, right? I think many of us have heard of this term used in South African term. It's I don't know exactly how to say it, Ubuntu or Ubuntu, but
Yep.
it's like, because I am, you are, right? And so it's I belong, therefore I am. It's just this idea of, like, finding wholeness in our community and individually, right? I think we do very much focus on providing access and resources and tools for our community members specifically and individually to thrive. But we are embedded and we are tethered together. And I think that's why we're called Comunidad. And together, we really are making the world a better place here in Falls Church, Virginia.
Yeah. Maralee, I would definitely agree with that statement. And on behalf of the whole community, thank you for everything that you do and the time and effort that you and all your volunteers make on a daily basis. We're a stronger community because of you. So thank you.
Thank you, Mike, for this time. It's been great to talk to you, and I look forward to staying in touch. Thank you to everybody
Absolutely.
that's listened in.
Yeah. Thank you for being here.
Sure. Take care.